Oh, who's that? Travis! Yeah! Oh, you legend! G'day everybody. I just feel I need to respond. I'm out on, we're starting a ride for the Riders of Tasmania, and I've got my wife with me today. She's behind me on the scoot. I just felt I needed to respond to some of the comments on that last rant video I did about apprenticeships and the state of industry at the moment. I was pretty well overwhelmed, really. I just felt I had to have something off my chest, and it would appear that there's a lot of people that feel the same. And some of the comments went straight to my heart. I guess it's just nice to know that I'm not alone in my thoughts. And one of the things I think it's important too is that you know, having worked on both sides of the fence as in a management role and also in an award position, so working as a tradesman, there is a bit of a divide, and I can tell you, each one thinks the other one's incompetent. So don't you know? But I can assure you that, you know, whether you're a stool on the tools or whether you're a desk jockey, there's always, they all work equally as hard. Sure, if you're driving a desk, you may not be as physically active as, you know, people that are working in the trade, but the pressures are as great, often greater. The accountability is certainly far greater. You know, having worked in management roles, I know, you know, you're constantly having a performance reviewed. You're constantly being set targets that are often extremely, well, they're always a stretch. They're always hard to achieve. And the accountability is there because you're not protected by a union. Whereas when you're working on the tools, you know, the pressure's on to try and get the job done and get it done efficiently, and often working in difficult situations, in difficult environments, with people breathing down your neck while you're trying to work through problems. And the bloke standing there with his clipboard may not exactly understand what you're trying to do, and he doesn't know, he doesn't get it. To him it's simple. You're an expert, fix it. But that's not always how it works. Anyway, so you know, the fact is, it doesn't matter whether you work you know, you work as a data analyst or working in IT or doing anything like that. or whether you're working on the tools, the fact is that there's a lot of gaps in training, and I think a lot of it, I could sort of see a shift in it when in Australia, I think when they started to make changes to the apprenticeship commission, to the apprenticeship structure. What they did was I think industry were crying that apprentices are too expensive, and there was certainly a shift towards people, you know, getting degrees and going to university and going down different career paths, and all of a sudden there was a gap where there were very, you know, few trades, and what that meant was that if you were a qualified tradesman, your price went up. So we had all these cashed up tradies running around, which is, you know, good for them. They were earning big bucks. So, you know, you'd go to university and spend 5 years there and put in the effort and gain a profession and go out into the field, and there's blokes out there banging up houses or fixing trucks, and they're getting more money than you are. And there was a fairly large influx of imported tradesmen too. So, you know, people were bringing them in from overseas because we just didn't have enough people here. And that's not a new thing, that's been going on forever. They were bringing, you know, tradesmen in, the old 10-pound poms we used to call them here in Australia. If you had a trade behind you back in the 50s, or especially when they were doing large infrastructure programs in Australia, like the Snowy Mountain hydroelectric scheme, those kind of things, there was a lot of tradesmen coming in from overseas, and they certainly helped enrich the tapestry here in Australia. You know, they brought skills and cultures, and the whole multiculturalism thing, I think, was very good. And we had a lot of people from Italy and Greece, and the Chinese have been here since the early days of goldfields, and worked heavily in the sugar cane industry as well. So, you know, we've been lucky in Australia like that. But getting back to the story, there certainly was a shift in the process when they moved away from. So apprentices used to, when I was a kid, you know, you had a term of indenture. Companies accepted the fact that in order to keep the wheels of industry turning, they, you know, had to have kids be trained, and the tradesmen jealously guarded that as well. So there was lots of really good training facilities. I know Carlton United Breweries used to have a building in Abbotsford that was just dedicated to apprentice training. And it was, that's how they ensured good reliability and good asset care in their industry. And there was a lot of effort put into training kids. And you had, when I did my time, we used to do block releases to college. So you'd go away for 7 weeks each year and just do nothing but college. So you're doing the theory component and some practical work, you know, learning different skills. And quite often there were kids that worked in industries that didn't have the facilities. You know, they may not have had a lathe, or they may not have had much exposure to welding or anything like that. So that's where college was good. It'd pick up, you know, you'd get a broad cross section. You'd learn about metallurgy, and you'd learn about machining, and you'd learn about how to hand finish things. And it was always good to get away. But then they went away from that, and they went to this 1 day a week kind of deal. But, you know, in my view, that because, you know, the industry was crying because, you know, they lose their apprentice for 7 weeks at a time, and of course they're still having to pay him his wages, etc. So they moved away from that a bit, and then that kind of, I think, took a bit of the continuity out of it. So, you know, you'd go 1 day a week, but I think it was better in a block release situation. Just my view. But then they went to this competency-based crap, you know, and then they moved into, rather than, you know, first year, second year, third year, fourth year, they've got this certificate system. So Cert 1, 2, 3, 4, and I think a Cert 4 is equivalent to a trade certificate. And I think that's where the problem lies, you know, this whole, oh yeah, you're deemed competent, and there's recognised prior knowledge. Yeah, you either know it or you don't know it. And you know, the fact is that I think the system's structured now so that you can turn out, you can be a completely incompetent buffhead and still walk out of there with a certificate for in whatever the trade is that you've chosen. So that, yeah, that to me just, I don't think it's all that good. Anyway, I've gone on another rant, haven't I? But, you know, the problem seems to be worldwide, and the problem also seems to be fairly common. There's probably enough belly aching on that one. So I just wanted to say I really enjoyed your comments. I really enjoyed that interaction, and you know, the emotional outpouring and the memories that people shared. And that's what I love about this YouTube platform, is that, you know, every now and then you just sort of, you strike a chord. Wouldn't that rip the fork out of your 90? Like, probably nearly a year since the stars have aligned and I've been able to go for a ride with my wife. First bloody stop, phone rings, like an idiot I answer it, and it's work. And now I've got to go in and try and sort a problem out. God damn it. Oh well. there'll be other times. Oh well, there's not much point doing a ride video when all I'm doing is riding to work. You still get to take in a few sights. I was so looking forward to getting down to Cygnet too. The drones in the top box on the wife's scooter. I was gonna